Well, Illinois Congressman Joe Walsh stirring up controversy again with comments this time about Islam and political correctness in government. This time he accused the government of being too politically correct when it comes to Islam. His comments Wednesday offended many in Chicago's Muslim community. CAIR-Chicago, Council on American Islamic Relations, held a news conference today specifically to address those comments. But Dan Ponce reports that Walsh says he stands by his remarks, and at the same time, it's wrong to call him a racist.
Addressing supporters in Elk Grove Village Wednesday night, Tea Party Republican Joe Walsh told supporters that the threat of radical Islam is right here in the Chicago area. He also blamed the government for the Fort Hood massacre.
Your government was so afraid of doing its job, so afraid of offending Islam, that right in front of our noses, we saw what was happening in Fort Hood, and because your government was politically correct, Americans died.
His comments sparked outrage among many Chicago area religious leaders who held a news conference this morning at CAIR-Chicago headquarters to address the controversy.
In his remarks, Congressman Joe Walsh made it abundantly clear where he stands. And now the time has come for all people of goodwill, of every faith tradition, to stand these kinds of ideas down and to say together that there is no place for this kind of hatred in public discourse.
Some of the speakers say Walsh's comments represent a deeper problem within the Republican Party.
There is a problem that has to be addressed. I don't know if they're trying to sound like the racist, bigoted, backward party or if it's just happening. But the leadership needs to step up and live up to the legacy of the great GOP of the past and know that America cannot move forward with hate and divisiveness, but with hope and inspiration.
It's not an accident that you see such a diverse group of people standing here. We are all alarmed at what the GOP is doing to the social fabric of this country.
Congressman Walsh says he stands by his controversial remarks.
Look, we don't have time to be politically sensitive here. There are people around the world and in this country trying to kill Americans. That's a real threat. The administration knows it and Congress knows it. CAIR should be concerned about that.
And he says his comments were not racist.
Most Muslims are wonderfully patriotic, loving, peaceful people. But there is a radical strain of Islam which is trying to hijack that religion.
All right, well, joining me now, Ahmed Rehab from CAIR-Chicago joins me he's at the Tribune Tower. Well, Ahmed, good evening. Welcome to Politics Tonight.
Good evening, thank you.
Well, are you comforted by Congressman Walsh's comments that not all of Muslims are bad people?
No, not at all. And the problem here, and first of all, it wasn't just Muslims who were offended. It was Methodists, Lutherans, Catholics, Jews, as you can see from the press conference, a wide, sliver of Americans. And they were offended because we thought that we elected officials to represent us in moving education forward, healthcare, jobs, environment, housing, etc., not to pontificate on issues that they don't know much about and to suggest that we have the enemy within in Addison, in Elgin, in Elk Grove, killing us every week without providing any basis for that accusation, and making it about a community, a faith community, that puts the entire community in peril from potential vigilante, revenge or acts of violence like we've seen against the Sikhs who are not even Muslim, who just happen to wear turbans.
Now, when Congressman Walsh makes these points, look, clearly there's politics involved as well. To go after, even though he doesn't go after all Muslims, he goes after some. But the truth is, he's sending a message that some people will relate to. I mean, in terms of the response of all these communities, the response has to go beyond Congressman Walsh, right? There are people who think the way he thinks.
Well, the problem is his pandering to those people in exchange for votes and funding, potentially. It is political posturing. He doesn't know what he's talking about, but he wants to sound like he does, and he wants to sound like, the guy who's capable of seeing the enemy, defending Americans from the enemy, because he has nothing to say on education, clearly, or on healthcare reform, or on jobs, or the real issues that people in Elk Grove and, Addison and other suburbs really care about. If you have information about a potential threat of people killing us, you don't bring that information to a library and talk to ordinary citizens about it. you call up the FBI or the CIA or any intelligence community. So it just shows that it's just political posturing and not real intelligence or security conversation.
You know, there's no question that education is the answer to so many things. I mean, I often find bigotry, hatred, all this stuff, it really lies in the minds of people who are, bluntly put, uneducated, lack life experience. How do you educate people on this issue? How do you teach people that, you know, yes, we were attacked at 9/11. Yes, there are people that want to kill us, but, you know, to go after anybody who is a Muslim or any other religion for that matter just makes no sense.
You know, it's about engagement. It's about leadership, stepping forward and appealing to the better part of people. It's precisely what the faith leaders that were at the press conference this morning did. And, you know, during tough times, I look at people like them and I think to myself, America still has hope. There are Americans who still believe in the American project. What this congressman fails to understand is that Islamophobia is not a threat against Muslims or a problem against Muslims. It hurts America. Any form of bigotry hurts America. We never moved forward in the past on bigotry and racism and fear-mongering. We moved forward with courage, with bravery, with imagination, with inventiveness, and with working together. And so essentially, he seems to me to be morally bankrupt and politically bankrupt, and he's appealing for emotion and sentiment because of a lack of logic and rationale in terms of the policies he has to offer.
All right, Ahmed Rehab with CAIR-Chicago. Thanks so much for being with me. I think what's important is, you know what? There needs to be continued voices. Muslims, Jews, Catholics, Protestants, everybody needs to speak out as a group and continue to send down this message. Thank you for coming on the show and speaking out tonight. You have a good weekend.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Well, a new food license